The Souls of Acheron was painted in 1898 by the Hungarian-Jewish artist Adolf Hirémy-Hirschl. The central figure here is the Greek messenger god Hermes in a dark blue robe, and we can recognize him by his winged hat, caduceus staff, and his winged shoes. But here he is not delivering a message for the gods, he is in his role as the guide of the souls, also referred to as Hermes psychopomp with a more expensive word. And there is a halo of some soft light surrounding his head. It was his task to transport the people who had recently died from the upper to the lower world. Many of the souls are begging Hermes for a chance to return to the land of the living, but looking at his expression, he does not seem very impressed by their pleas. It contrasts strongly with the agony and desperation on the faces of the souls. Hermes instead is patiently waiting for the arrival of this man in the background. It is the oarsman Charon, to whom I will get in a little bit. He seems a bit out of place. His body language seems to express that he has been through this many times before. If we look a bit closer at the various souls, only a few of them don't make a plea, and they mostly include the two children and an elderly man who resigned to their fate. Also notice their skin color is different than that of Hermes, clearly indicating that Hermes is the only one alive here. Most noticeable among the souls is this lady in the foreground, still wearing a stunning diaphanous fabric and her wreath of flowers. But there are a few others that are also wearing some clothes combined with a wreath, like this lady with the green fabric, the man with his wreath of ivy, and this couple in the foreground who seem to have resigned to their fate. And then there is this man reaching out with his arm to something. His eyes are closed, so is he trying to reach out to Hermes and just doesn't know where exactly he is? Or is he reaching out to the children in the foreground? Hermes and the souls are standing next to the dark waters of the Acheron river, which is a relatively short river in the northwest of Greece, and you can see the river here. It is one of the 5 rivers associated with the underworld, and according to various Greek mythological sources, this is the entrance to the underworld. In Roman mythology, the river Styx is usually associated with the entrance to the underworld. The river Acheron, which can be translated as River of Woe, was chosen as the entrance to the underworld as it partly flows below the ground. After Hermes delivered these souls to the Acheron river, Charon would transport the dead across the river. We can see him in the distance of this lighter image of the painting, returning from his previous trip to pick up the next batch of souls. In return for transporting them, he would usually get a coin which was put in the soul's mouth. In this engraving by Gustave Doré, you can see Charon loading the people into his boat. This fresco by Luca Giordano shows him crossing the river, just as in this painting from 1861 by Litovchenko, where we can see Dante and Virgil standing in the background. And here he is again, standing in the back of the boat holding a large oar, as depicted by Michelangelo in his famous fresco The Last Judgment. Here Charon has just crossed the river and urges all the souls to get off his boat. And after his delivery, he will return with his empty boat, as shown in another engraving by Gustave Doré. And this is a painting from the early 16th century by Joachim Patinier, showing Charon with a single soul in his boat. Adolf Hirémy-Hirschl chose a chaotic composition for the Souls of Acheron, which makes it not easy to see what is going on in this painting at first glance. The painting, which is on display in the Belvedere Museum in Vienna, is large though, measuring 215 by 340 centimeters, some 7 by 11 feet, so when standing in front of it, you are invited to really take it all in. Here you can see a study for this painting he made the same year, and when you compare both works, you see that the composition in the study was used as a blueprint for the final work. Hirémy-Hirschl was an academic artist and a great draftsman who carefully prepared his large works by making many sketches and studies first. And while you see some of his studies, it may be good to know that there are not a lot of works by Hirémy-Hirschl that have survived. In fact, many of his larger scale works have been lost, so if you think that you could discover many other spectacular works from his hand, you may get disappointed. That is not to say that he did not create other works. Here are a few examples of known works from his hand, perhaps a little less impressive than the Souls of Acheron. But there is at least one other masterpiece that I want to share. Hirémy-Hirschl painted this in 1888, 10 years before the Souls of Acheron. It is entitled Ahasuerus at the End of the World, showing the wandering Jew who witnesses the end of the world because he taunted Jesus on his way to the crucifixion. The story of the wandering Jew is based on a 13th century European legend. In this painting, he is the bearded man in the center. He is immortal and wanders the earth until the end of the world. He is placed in a polar wilderness, and the immortal Ahasuerus is the last man alive. Next to him are the Angel of Hope and the Spectre of Death. And in the foreground is a fallen female figure. She personifies the dead humanity at the end of the world. She is surrounded by some crows who add to the grim and dark atmosphere. Compared to the Souls of Acheron, there are many fewer figures present, but Hirémy-Hirschl still created a chaotic composition which takes some time to fully appreciate. Well, I hope you enjoyed this discussion of the Souls of Acheron. If you did and want to support the channel, please hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, and leave a comment down below with your thoughts about this artwork. Thanks for watching.